These are some Dinar Guru updates, starting off with RV already. If the RV wasn't needed, the UN wouldn't have gone to the Security Council and threatened drastic action. Iraq is sitting with the IMF right now, talking over implementation details. Militiaman article quote Al-Sudani, our government's program has made poverty alleviation a priority, unquote. Militiaman says poverty is a part of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's mission statement. Well, getting the HCL via purchase power will help alleviate that quickly, in my opinion. We have been seeing a lot of these meetings in Washington, D.C. this last week, and today is adding to the list of support that Iraq is going international. Let's keep an eye out for the WTO and see if they're still pushing for Iraq to be international, and as soon as possible, in my opinion. Frank 26 Firefly, if soon we get one government seated, the only thing left would be a rate change. All dots have been crossed and dotted, and if government formed. Frank says the pressure from the UN and the international world allowed this to happen very quickly. Mark Z via PDK, still a bit quiet on the RV front. Bond folks are still waiting to be paid. This surprises me based on conversations I've had with many bigwigs. I'm still being told they are still getting lots of guarantees that they will have full access to their money, not partial, this week, and the can will not be kicked again. Fingers crossed. All right, Samson article, quote, the central bank resolves the controversy over changing the dollar exchange rate. Quote, central bank advisor Ihsan Shamran al-Yassiri said the Central Bank of Iraq is an independent body and the exchange rate adjustment is done in agreement with the government, and there are now no efforts to change it. Pimpy question, what does this new GOI mean for the exchange rate? Pimpy says Maliki is most likely to be nominated to vice president, but they're going to find a way to maneuver him into prime minister's position. I told you, if Maliki and his people got into power, you would see an increase in the value of the Iraqi dinar. Most likely, the first step is to increase it back to where it was, $11.90. I do remember Maliki talking about him getting the exchange rate up to $1.12 at one time. The only question is, if they do change the exchange rate, are we going to be allowed to sell our dinars? I hope so. We will find out. Sandy Ingram says, I do not understand the new prime minister's designation. One news agency called him a nominee. Another called him a PM designate. These are high-ranking news agencies, so something is going on. Militiaman says, getting the purchase power is all about the citizens. My contact source, a doctor from Iraq, tells us that the citizens are happy and expectant of a rate change. I am in a good place as I understand it to be. It is not all about Iraq. It is far bigger than that and is definitely underway, and we will see evidence. Frank 26 article, quote, the coordinating framework reveals to Nina the features of the new government formation and the date of granting it confidence, unquote. Frank says they said 14 days, then they said 10 days, and I said 8 days would be enough. What did they say in this article? 8 days. Quote, in all cases, next Monday we will have an Iraqi government. Mark Z via PDK article, quote, USDA announces it will begin paying off $800 million in farm loans, unquote. Mark Z says, one of the things we have been looking for as a key indicator as to whether we have started or not is the cancellation of farm loans and forgiveness and farm claims. So this article dropping today is, in my opinion, pretty important, especially when you couple it with the sudden chatter on the bond side. A number of my bond people were contacted today for final instructions. This is huge. This is the first time many of them were asked these questions about final wiring and banking instructions, where and what accounts the money ends up. That is from Mark Z from the 14th. When they get access, we'll be right there on their heels. Mark Z says we will be watching it closely overnight into tomorrow, but I believe it has started. The chatter today has been exceptional. Let's see if it gets us across the finish line or not. Sampson article, quote, State Administration Coalition, Saturday is the date for voting on the government. And Mountain Goat article, quote, for the first time in its history, bank deposits in the central bank approach 180 trillion dinars. The value of the issued currency remain within the barrier of 82 trillion dinars, representing 47% of the total liabilities of the central bank, unquote. So Mountain Goat says, so again, they are telling us the amount of dinar now in circulation, which is 82 trillion dinars, or about 82 billion US dollars worth. They kept telling us in the past they could not get the people's money in the banks. So now we know this is not entirely true, and they're having some success in doing so, and this is the proof, as 180 trillion, nor about 180 US dollars in the banks, is not that shabby. I would call this program very successful.